So in this video we are going to look at the exercise we worked on, working with smart objects, and we are going to take them from Lightroom into Photoshop. So we are going to right click and go edit in, and we're not going to edit in Adobe Photoshop, we are going to open as smart objects in Photoshop. So if we give that a second, that will launch Photoshop. If you already have Photoshop open, it will automatically drop the images in there. So we can see, if we look at the right hand corner of the thumbnail, this is a smart object. If we hover over it, there it says smart object thumbnail. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the move tool, and we are going to pick our sky up, take it up, hover over the building image, and we're going to bring it down and take our finger off. We're going to hit Command or Control and T because we want to resize this sky image, and we can drag it around to suit. If we want to constrain, we have to press Shift and constrain it, but I'm quite happy with that choice, and then we hit the tick to accept that. So now you can see we've got two layers over here, the sky and the building. So we're just going to turn off the sky layer at the moment. We're going to come down and select the thumbnail on the building layer. We are going to select our quick selection tool, and if I just scroll this up so that you can see, and from the top menu here we're just going to click on the select subject. Give Photoshop a second and it'll do its job, and you can see it's done quite a good job around here, but not such a good job down in this area. So we're going to make sure we are on the plus icon, and we are going to, now inside the brush you can see it's got a little plus, and we're just going to add the rest of the building there. We're going to come up to select, down to modify, and we're just going to go to contract, and we'll contract this by we'll say 2 pixels. Oh, maybe that's 2's too many, so we'll try 1 pixel. Modify, contract just by 1 pixel. Okay, I'm just going to hit Control and Z because I should have undone that. So we're going to select, modify, contract by 1 pixel, and that should deal with any little halos around the outside. So now we're going to select the sky layer, and we are going to come up to the layer menu, select this, and we'll come down to layer mask, and we're going to say hide the selection. Now you can see that it's put a mask on with the selection in there, and I'm going to turn this layer on. Now we have the sky with the building with the new sky behind it. And yes, I know Photoshop has a new sky replacement feature, but this is not about doing the sky replacement. This is about working with smart objects, so we have to remember that. So we want to give this sky a little bit more of a sunset colour balance to it, and because these are raw images and they're a smart object, if we double click on the smart object and give that a second, now it's opened this image back up into camera raw, and you get to see the full size image. So from here we can make some additions to the image, and you can see these are the previous adjustments that have been made to this shot. So we could select a profile, and we could use one of the drop downs here, or we could go into browse, and there's artistic 6. That's quite a sunset kind of colour, so we'll accept that. Then we'll go back, and from here we can adjust the temperature, or we can come down and choose to increase the vibrance. That will increase the less saturated colours in the image. We could even come down to the colour mixer and have a play around in here. And really you could spend quite a long time, or you could come down into the colour grading and do a little bit of warming up here. So I'm just going to accept those changes now and hit OK, and that will take us back into the Photoshop and the adjustments have been made. Now if I think that blue is just way too strong in the sky image, I can come back over, double click on the thumbnail and go back into Camera Raw, and I could select the gradient filter and add a gradient filter. Going to turn off the overlay. And let's see. We could just warm this up a little bit, and that's it. Then hit OK. That's better. I don't mind this little bit of blue over at this side. I quite like that. And it's not how the image, this is not about how the image looks, it's about showing you the technique to use with it. So now we can come down to the building image and double click on the thumbnail of the building, and that will take us back into Camera Raw. So we could go back into the building and just see if there's any adjustments that we want to make to the building. And I think, yeah, if we've adjusted the vibrance, possibly come down and let's have a look at the colour mixer. We could increase the reds in there, making a tiny little bit of a difference. No, we're not getting anywhere there. The blues, could make the blues a little bit more on the magenta side. Okay, that's great. I'm happy with that. So now I could hit OK there. So we could now think about putting adjustment layers onto here. So if I'm still on the building layer, I'm going to come down and I am going to do a brightness and contrast on here, and I'm going to bring the building all the way down to about -80. That's really quite darken that down a little bit. Do we need to, oh yeah, we'll alter the contrast, so I'll go to a +9 on the contrast. Yeah, and now we can decide, and this is where you have to decide, if you put a sky in and your sun is coming from the right hand side, so this right hand face of the building would be much brighter than the left hand side, and you can see the left hand side in this image is in shadow. We could increase the contrast between those two sides. So with the mask selected, we are going to select the polygonal selection tool, and we are going to start up at the top edge here, and we are going to draw around the building, making our selection. And I'll just do this quite quickly. You can take your time over it when you do it. come down outside of the building. There we go. Now we have this right side of the building selected. So depending on which side you want the light to fall on, would be the side that you choose to make a selection from. So we now will take our brush tool, and we're still working on the mask, and we want D for default colours and X because we want black as our foreground colour. If we take a look down here, and we can come over and use the right or left bracket keys to make this brush a little bit bigger, and we can just come and paint that effect away from here. And now if we hit Ctrl and D to deselect, you can see we've really increased the contrast in the building, so it's made it much more dynamic and gave it much more depth. So that's it, that's all there is to it, and working with smart objects is completely and utterly non-destructive. So you can go back in and re-edit. If you want to change the colour of the sky, you can go in and do that. Okay, thank you for watching.